I want to look to see if there's autoimmune markers in there. I want to look to see if the if the pituitary is producing enough TSH. I want to know, is the thyroid receiving the signal? Is the thyroid producing enough T4? Is that T4 being converted to T3? Is that T3 being uptaken by the cells? And is the thyroid functioning properly?
You are listening to Turn Your Soul On Radio. I am your host and visionary doctor, Dr. Brandy Victory, and my mission is to assist high-achieving women in closing the gap between feeling unfulfilled to living a life on fire. It is time, ladies, to champion our own lives and turn ourselves on. This is Living Victoriously, ladies. This is how you turn your soul on.
Hello, gorgeous ladies. Happy to be here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I am just vibing off the love, joy, juice, and harmony that my intern brings to my practice. It's just been so fun working with her, and it just brightens my day. So if you're out there listening, thank you so much. And we had this really great report that came in today. I've had this patient, and she has Graves' disease, which is essentially an autoimmune hyperthyroid situation. And she's been a patient of mine for years and years and years, and I love her dearly, and it is so freaking hard to get movement with her. Like, she's feeling better. She has more energy. She's accomplished so much over the years, like going through school, getting her master's, like all these things, and she's doing it. And, there's still these issues that revolve around the hyperthyroid situation and autoimmunity. I was so frustrated, and I just kept trying and kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. And so I finally shifted her protocol last month and to some really hardcore adrenal support. So your adrenals, or if you don't know, are your stress organs. They help you handle stress. And she is a former police officer and has a very high stress job at this point too. And her stress has just been that way probably since she was even a little kid, right? She's just lived in a stressed out body. And so her adrenals have been going, help me, I can't keep up. And what we find is that if there's a thyroid issues, there's typically an adrenal component going on there. But this time we just went full force adrenal support, and I got her labs back and everything is in normal ranges. She literally had a TSH, which was like 0.0006. Like it is supposed to be a 1 to 2 if it's an optimum functional range. And hers was 0.0006. Okay. For a long time. No matter what I did, I couldn't really get that to move. And I just got her labs back, and I am so excited to say, woohoo! She is at 1.39 on her TSH, and all her other numbers are within normal limits too. And those are all functional ranges. So what that means is when I look at lab work, I look at lab work a little differently than a medical doctor does. So a medical doctor is going to look at your labs and go, oh, you're in range, you're fine. Oh, you're out of range, something's wrong. And I don't necessarily believe in the black and white on-off model that they live by. I look at the body as a whole from a functional perspective, and this is the essence of functional medicine, which is what I practice. And when we start to look at the body as a whole, we can we can start to read what the story that the body is telling us. So every single body, a human body tells a story. But if we're compartmentalizing everything, we will miss the story altogether. It's kind of like reading 10 words of a chapter and expecting to know what the chapter's about. So look, for instance, let's just say your blood glucose is high, let's just say it's 100, and you're fasting. And so, a medical model might look at that and go, oh, you're pre-diabetic or you're diabetic. Let's maybe look at, A1C or some other markers just to confirm that. But ideally, they're looking for, you're out of range, you've got a problem, let's give you medication. Or furthermore, let's have surgery. When I'm looking at glucose, I'm like, okay, the glucose is high, but why? What is the underlying condition that's causing the glucose to be high? So maybe there's some relationship or something I need to look at in relationship to the liver or the thyroid or the adrenals, and look at how the body's handling sugars rather than just looking at, oh, glucose is high. Once we understand that, we can start addressing the root cause of the problem. In the traditional medical models, they'll only pretty much test, when you're testing thyroid, they'll pretty much only test thyroid stimulating hormone, which is TSH. And TSH is produced by the pituitary gland, and the pituitary produces TSH, and it stimulates the thyroid, to produce hormones. T3 or T4, and then T4 becomes converted into T3, and then so on and so on. So if we're only looking at TSH, we're only looking at whether or not the pituitary is producing enough hormone to stimulate the thyroid. So essentially, we're actually testing the pituitary, not the thyroid, when we're looking at only TSH. It's important to look at all the other markers. When I do a lab test for someone on their thyroid, I actually look at 11 different markers. I want to look to see if there's autoimmune markers in there. I want to look to see if the if the pituitary is producing enough TSH. I want to know, is the thyroid receiving the signal? Is the thyroid producing enough T4? Is that T4 being converted to T3? Is that T3 being uptaken by the cells? And is the thyroid functioning properly? So those are all parts of the system that are vital for evaluation. This is not only thyroids that happens this way. You know, the medical model is just the system's broken is the reality of it, and they're not looking at the whole picture. So I was just sharing that with you because if you know anyone who's having any thyroid issues or metabolic issues, it's kind of all related, or even adrenal issues, if they've been under some level of stress, you'll want to get them to a functional medicine practitioner because it's a whole new level in healing and work around getting bodies well. You know, we used to be in a society where, and we're coming out of it now, where we would listen to the doctors. You know, my grandmother, she bless her little heart, she loves going to the doctor, and anything that doctor says is gospel, I am telling you, and there's no convincing her otherwise. And you know what? Sometimes there's another way, and my passion is really helping people find that other way. There's actually this really cool test that you can do. It's called a Barnes thyroid temperature test. And you can do this at home. You just need a shakedown thermometer. They don't actually make the mercury-filled ones anymore, but the shakedown thermometers you can buy off Amazon for just a few bucks. Like, it's really simple. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put that thermometer in a little cup on your nightstand. Nothing needs to be in the cup. The only reason why you're putting the thermometer in the cup is because you're going to shake it down before you go to bed, and you want it to stay shaken down. So if you put it in a cup, the thermometer is up on its end, and then it'll stay shaken down. So when you first wake up in the morning, before you go pee, before you get out of bed, before you roll over, like the very first thing when you wake up, take that thermometer and put it under your arm, in your armpit, and leave it there for 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, take it out and read what it says. Read the temperature, okay? And do this for 5 days in a row and write down your results. If you've got an average temperature between 98.2 and 98.8, that's considered normal. But if it's lower than that or higher than that, you may be dealing with a thyroid issue. I always have my patients do this test before I even actually have them do lab work. And it is always on. It is always on. I've never done lab work and have it say one thing and then them do a Barnes thyroid test and say something else. The Barnes thyroid test always reflects the lab work as far as I've seen. So if you want to check and see how your own thyroid is doing, that's a really great way to do it. And then a few things that you can do to support your own thyroid, and there is obviously some controversy on this, and if you're going to do something, you may want to talk to your doctor. But the first thing is, like I was saying, let's go back to if you have a thyroid issue, there's usually always an adrenal issue. So you're going to want to support your adrenals. And how you do that is you do things to relax your body. So you can do yoga, you can do creative functions like, dance or art or something that's going to give you a little bit of relaxation in your body. Take a bath, take a sauna, go for a walk. Sometimes, moving your body is good for the adrenals. Other times, staying still is good for the adrenals. So you kind of got to look at that. The other thing you can do for your thyroid health is eat Brazil nuts. A lot of times there's a deficiency in selenium, and selenium is important for the transference of the hormone, so it can convert. And you can get selenium for Brazil nuts, which is really, really cool. So you really only need 3 or 4 a day if you have a selenium deficiency. The other thing you want to do is you want to eat sulfur-type foods, so things like garlic and onions and eggs with egg yolks. Those are all really supportive for your thyroid. You may also need to get your zinc up and your iodine up. You can eat oysters and definitely, if you're taking zinc, though, you want to make sure that you're taking a whole food concentrate, not just zinc on its own, or at least take it with trace minerals so that it has the cofactors that it needs to work in your body. But those are some of the things you can do. Berries and cruciferous vegetables are also good, and seaweed is also good. So the iodine comes from seaweed. There's these really cool little crunchy seaweed snacks now that are fun. You just got to look on the ingredients and make sure what you're getting isn't laden with sugar and a bunch of chemicals. Like I've picked up a couple of those, and it's been like, oh gosh, that was not what I thought it was. It had sugar in it. So yeah, you want to avoid that. But the seaweed snacks are fun. They're fun, tasty little snacks, and you'll get some iodine that way. Also, sea salt. So sea salt is really great for your adrenals and your thyroid, and you want it when you're taking sea salt. You want to take sea salt that's colored. So I've been seeing out there's this white sea salt, and that sea salt has been processed, and all the minerals have been taken out of it. The benefit of sea salt is the minerals that are in it. So get the colored kind. And what I would recommend is if you're going to do sea salt, buy different colors every time. So like I alternate between gray and pink because I want to get those different mineral profiles in my body. So right now I'm eating pink. Next time I'll eat gray. Speaking of eating, I am signing off, and I'm going to go eat some cruciferous vegetables myself. How about some asparagus sauteed in coconut oil with some sea salt? So I'm going to go support my thyroid with a little dinner. I hope your evening is spectacular, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to another awesome episode of Turn Your Soul On Radio. If you're enjoying the show and it's making a difference in your life, I'd be super grateful if you'd head on over to iTunes and leave a heartfelt review, which tremendously helps the growth of the show. Feel free to leave any suggestions or questions in your review, or you can shoot us an email at admin@drbrandyvictory.com. I also would like to invite you to become a deeper part of the Turn Your Soul On Radio community, which you can do by joining our private Facebook group, Turn Your Soul On. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a fantastic day.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Dr. Brandy Victory is not a medical doctor, and the views and statements expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Dr. Brandy Victory and the producers, disclaim responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.